Tae-Yang stepped off the transport shuttle and immediately felt something was wrong. The air felt thin, like breathing on top of a mountain. The gravity was lighter too, making each step feel bouncy and strange. He looked at Ji-Woo, who was adjusting her backpack with a confused expression. "Does everything feel weird to you?" Ji-Woo asked. "Yeah, it's like walking on the moon or something," Tae-Yang replied. They were standing in the main hall of the Galactic Pedagogical Institute, a massive space station that orbited a purple star. Students from dozens of different alien species moved through the corridors. Some floated, some crawled, and some moved in ways that made no sense at all. A tall, insectoid creature approached them. It had 6 legs, 4 arms, and a head that looked like it belonged on a praying mantis. Its compound eyes glittered as it looked down at the 2 humans. "You must be the Terran exchange students," the creature said in perfect English, though its mouth parts clicked with each word. "I am Professor Velkaris. Welcome to the Institute." "Thank you, Professor," Tae-Yang said, bowing slightly out of habit. The professor's antennae twitched. "Please do not bow. The sudden movement might startle others. We must be very careful with you humans." Ji-Woo frowned. "Careful? Why?" "You come from Earth. A Class 12 death world. We have made special arrangements for your safety." Professor Velkaris gestured with one of its arms. "Follow me, please." Slowly. As they walked through the station, Tae-Yang noticed something strange. Every door they approached opened very slowly, as if the computer was being extra cautious. Other students moved away from them quickly, giving them a wide berth. Some even pressed themselves against the walls. "Why is everyone avoiding us?" Ji-Woo whispered. "I don't know," Tae-Yang whispered back. "Maybe humans smell bad to them?" They entered a large classroom where other students were already seated. The room had a strange layout, with each student sitting in what looked like a personal pod with its own environmental controls. Professor Velkaris led them to 2 pods at the back. "These are specially designed for Terran biology," the professor explained. "The temperature, pressure, and atmospheric composition are adjusted to your needs." Tae-Yang climbed into his pod. Inside, it felt more normal. The air was thicker, the gravity was closer to Earth standard. He could see out through a transparent screen, watching as other students settled into their own pods. One student caught his attention. It looked like a being made entirely of pink crystal, sitting in a pod filled with some kind of gel. The crystal student noticed Tae-Yang looking and quickly turned away, its facets flashing with what might have been fear. "Good morning, class," Professor Velkaris said, standing at the front of the room. "This semester we will undertake a special project in comparative physiology. Each of you will conduct supervised experiments to understand the biological differences between species." A ripple of interest moved through the classroom. One student, a blob of purple gelatin named Poroth, raised a tentacle. "Will this include the humans?" "Yes," Professor Velkaris said. "In fact, I believe we can learn much from our Terran friends." Another student, whose body seemed to shimmer like water, spoke up. "But Professor, isn't that dangerous? I heard humans come from a world where it rains acid and the ground explodes randomly." Tae-Yang blinked in confusion. "What? Earth doesn't have acid rain." "Well, not anymore. We fixed that." The entire class went silent. Several students turned to stare at him. "You fixed it?" the water-like student asked. "You mean you survived it?" "Our grandparents did, yeah. It was called pollution. We stopped doing the things that caused it," Tae-Yang explained. Ji-Woo leaned forward in her pod. "Wait, do you all think Earth is more dangerous than it really is?" Professor Velkaris's antennae twitched again. "Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world. The surface temperature varies by more than 50 degrees. It has violent atmospheric storms. The ground shakes regularly from tectonic activity. It is home to millions of microscopic organisms that can cause fatal infections. And the atmosphere contains 21% oxygen, one of the most corrosive gases in the known galaxy. That's just normal weather and stuff," Ji-Woo said slowly. A student in the front row made a squeaking sound and appeared to faint inside its pod. Professor Velkaris continued as if nothing had happened. For this project, you will work in groups of 3. Each group must document baseline survival parameters for all members, then conduct simple experiments to understand your biological limits. The professor began assigning groups. Tai Yang was paired with Rin, the crystalline student, and Poroth, the purple gelatin creature. Jiwoo was paired with 2 students who looked like small fuzzy balls with eyes. After class, the groups gathered to introduce themselves. Rin approached Tai Yang very slowly, staying about 2 meters away. "Hello," Rin said, his voice sounding like wind chimes. "I am Rin. I must tell you that I am very fragile. Please do not make sudden movements around me." "Okay," Tai Yang said, keeping still. "I'm Tai Yang. Nice to meet you." "Your voice is very loud," Rin said, his crystal body vibrating slightly. "Could you speak more quietly?" Tai Yang hadn't thought he was speaking loudly at all, but he lowered his voice. "Is this better?" "Yes, thank you," Rin said, visibly relaxing. "I apologize for my caution. I have heard that humans are incredibly dangerous." "Dangerous? We're not dangerous," Tai Yang said. Poroth flowed closer, though it also kept its distance. "Forgive Rin. He is simply scared. We all are. Humans are from a death world. Your planet kills things." "All planets have some dangerous stuff," Tai Yang said. "Earth is just normal." "Normal?" Rin's voice went up an octave. "Your planet has predators that hunt in packs. Your oceans have creatures with enough venom to kill 100 beings. Your sky throws electricity at the ground. Your sun emits radiation that would blind most species. And you call this normal?" Tai Yang opened his mouth and closed it. He had never thought about Earth that way before. Later that day, Tai Yang and Jiwoo met in the cafeteria. They sat at a table while other students kept a safe distance. Tai Yang pulled out a bottle of water from his bag and took a long drink. The cafeteria went completely silent. Every student stopped what they were doing and stared at him. Several students backed away. One student dropped its food tray, which floated away in the low gravity. "What?" Tai Yang asked, looking around. "What did I do?" A station security officer rushed over, its 6 eyes wide with panic. "Are you injured? Do you need medical assistance?" "No. I'm fine. I was just thirsty," Tai Yang said. "But you just consumed dihydrogen monoxide at ambient temperature," the officer said. "That's a universal solvent. It should be causing severe internal damage." Jiwoo pulled out her own water bottle. "You mean water? We drink this all the time." She took a sip. Rin, who had been watching from a nearby table, made a sound like breaking glass and collapsed onto the floor. "Medical emergency!" someone shouted. "The human's friend has fainted!" 3 medical drones rushed in, carefully lifting Rin's crystal body and placing it on a hovering stretcher. As they carried him away, Rin's eyes flickered open for a moment, looking at Tai Yang with what could only be described as absolute terror mixed with awe. Tai Yang and Jiwoo looked at each other. "I think," Jiwoo said slowly, "this is going to be a very interesting semester." Tai Yang nodded, still holding his water bottle. Around them, the other students whispered and pointed, their voices mixing into a sound like wind through leaves. Words like indestructible and Deathworlder and how are they still alive floated through the air. Professor Velkaris watched from the cafeteria entrance, its antennae vibrating with what might have been excitement. The professor pulled out a data pad and began making notes. This experiment was going to be far more interesting than anyone had anticipated. The humans didn't know it yet, but they were about to change everything the galaxy thought it knew about survival. The next morning, Tai Yang arrived at the laboratory early. The room was huge, filled with equipment that looked more like torture devices than scientific instruments. Clear chambers lined the walls, each one labeled with different testing parameters: temperature, gravity, atmosphere, pressure, radiation. Jiwoo was already there, looking at a data pad with a confused expression. "Have you seen this questionnaire?" she asked, showing him the screen. "It's asking about our comfortable temperature range. I put down 15 to 30 degrees Celsius. Do you think that's right?" "Maybe a bit wider," Tai Yang said, taking the pad. "I'd say we can handle 10 to 35 pretty easily." A gasp came from behind them. They turned to see Rin standing there. his crystalline body reflecting the laboratory lights. Poroth was next to him, rippling nervously. "Did you say 35 degrees?" Rin asked, his voice shaking. "That's nearly hot enough to boil some species." "Really?" Taeyang asked. "That's just a hot summer day where I'm from." Poroth flowed closer to look at the data pad. Its purple gelatin body quivered as it read the screen. "And you said 10 degrees as a minimum?" "That's below freezing for my biology. I would crystallize and die." 10 degrees is just a cold day, Jiwoo explained. "We wear jackets and we're fine." More students filed into the laboratory. Hana and Daehyun, the other two human students, joined them. Daehyun was tall and athletic, while Hana was shorter with sharp, intelligent eyes. "Did you all fill out the questionnaire?" Hana asked. "Some of these questions are weird. Like, how much radiation can we survive?" "I just put down what we get from normal sunlight." "Same," Daehyun said, "though I added that we can handle more if we wear sunscreen." Professor Velkaris entered the laboratory, followed by 3 other professors. They all stared at the human students with their various eyes, antennae, and sensory organs. "We have reviewed your questionnaires," Professor Velkaris said. "We need to verify your answers. The ranges you provided seem impossible." "They're just normal for us," Taeyang said. "We shall see," another professor said. "This one looked like a floating brain in a jar." "Please, human Jiwoo, enter chamber 3. Jiwoo walked to the chamber and stepped inside. The door sealed behind her with a hiss. Through the transparent wall, everyone could see her standing calmly. "We will now adjust the temperature," the brain professor announced. Starting at 20 degrees Celsius and increasing slowly. Numbers appeared on a screen above the chamber. 20 degrees, 25, 30, 35. "The temperature is now at 35 degrees, Professor Velkaris said. "How do you feel?" "Warm but fine," Jiwoo said through a speaker. "Like a hot day." The alien students watching began to murmur. Several were wearing cooling suits just to stand in the laboratory, which was kept at a neutral 18 degrees. Increasing to 40 degrees, the brain professor said. 40 degrees appeared on the screen. Jiwoo wiped her forehead. "Okay, now it's hot," she said. "Like being in a sauna. But I'm not dying or anything." 40 degrees is the temperature of molten rock on my homeworld, Rin whispered to Taeyang. "How is she not cooking?" The professors looked at each other. "Decrease temperature," Professor Velkaris ordered. The numbers dropped. 30, 20, 15, 10, 5. "It's cold now," Jiwoo said, rubbing her arms. "Like winter. I'd want a jacket. But I'm still okay." "Remarkable," the brain professor said. "Her body is maintaining stable function across a 40-degree range. Most species have a comfort range of 5 degrees at most." Jiwoo exited the chamber and Daehyun entered next. This time they tested gravity. The chamber could simulate different gravitational forces. Standard Earth gravity is approximately 9.8 meters per second squared, Professor Velkaris explained to the class. "We will increase this gradually." The chamber activated. Daehyun stood normally. "Increasing to 1.2 Earth standard," a professor announced. Daehyun shifted his weight slightly. "Feels heavier. Like wearing a backpack." 1.5 Earth standard. "Getting tiring," Daehyun said. "But I can still move fine." He demonstrated by doing a few squats. The alien students gasped. Rin's crystalline body flashed with colors. "He's exercising in 1.5 gravity. I need an exoskeleton just to survive in 1.0 gravity." The professors increased the gravity to 1.8. Daehyun was sweating now, moving more slowly, but he was still standing and walking. "This is like carrying another person on my back," he said. "Really hard, but possible." They decreased the gravity back to normal. Daehyun exited the chamber, breathing heavily but smiling. "That was a good workout." "Workout?" Poroth made a sound like popping bubbles. "That would have flattened me into a puddle." Next, Hana entered a different chamber for the atmospheric test. The professors explained that they would adjust the composition of the air she breathed. "We will introduce oxygen at 21% concentration," Professor Velkaris said. "This is the standard Terran atmosphere composition." "Why do you sound worried?" Hana asked. "That's just normal air." "Oxygen is highly reactive," the brain professor explained. "It causes oxidation, corrosion, and rapid aging of tissues. Most species breathe atmospheres with less than 3% oxygen. 21% is considered extremely dangerous." "Oh," Hana said. "I never thought of it that way." The chamber filled with Earth-standard air. Hana breathed normally. She even did some jumping jacks to show she was fine. The human is breathing a corrosive gas and exercising. A student whispered loudly. This is insane. The professors ran more tests. They tested Taeyang's resistance to pressure changes. He felt uncomfortable when the pressure got very high or very low, but he didn't suffer any damage. They tested all the humans' response to loud sounds, bright lights, and even mild radiation. Every test showed the same thing. Humans could survive in conditions that would kill most other species, and the conditions humans called comfortable were considered extreme environments by galactic standards. During a break, the 4 human students sat together in the cafeteria. Other students watched them from a distance like they were observing dangerous animals at a zoo. This is so weird, Hana said, eating a sandwich. We're just normal. Why do they think we're so tough? Because their planets are easier than Earth, Daehyun said. Think about it. Rin comes from a planet with barely any gravity and perfect weather all the time. Poroth's world is like a warm bath. They never had to deal with storms or cold winters or hot summers. Earth made us tough without us realizing it, Jiwoo added. We think we're normal because everyone on Earth can handle these things. But compared to the rest of the galaxy, we're like super soldiers. Taeyang watched as a small flying creature struggled to lift a piece of fruit that weighed maybe 50 grams. The creature needed help from 2 others to move it to its table. On Earth, a human baby could lift that much. They're not weak, Taeyang said quietly. They're normal. We're the weird ones. Weird strong, Hana said with a grin. The afternoon brought more tests. This time they tested healing and pain tolerance. A medical drone approached Taeyang with what looked like a tiny needle. We will make a small puncture on your skin, Professor Velkaris explained. Just enough to draw a sample of blood. Please try not to be alarmed. Okay, Taeyang said, holding out his arm. The needle pricked his skin. A small drop of blood appeared. Taeyang didn't even flinch. The medical drone's sensors went crazy, beeping rapidly. Warning. Subject has been injured. Initiating emergency protocols. What? I'm fine, Taeyang said. It's just a tiny poke. Professor Velkaris leaned closer, studying the small wound. Fascinating. Your blood is already clotting. The wound is sealing itself. Yeah, that's what blood does, Taeyang said. Not for most species, the professor replied. Most require medical intervention for any breach of skin. Your body repairs itself automatically? Oh, yes? Doesn't everyone's? The professor made a clicking sound. No, most definitely no. They observed the wound for 5 minutes. The bleeding stopped completely. By the end of the day, there was barely a mark left. The human body repairs minor damage within hours, Professor Velkaris said to the other professors, without any medical assistance. Their cellular regeneration is extraordinary. And he didn't even seem to feel pain, the brain professor added. The pain threshold is remarkably high. As the day ended, Professor Velkaris gathered all the data. The other professors crowded around, reading the results with expressions of disbelief, fear, and fascination. These humans, one professor said, they are stronger than most species' military personnel. Their baseline survival parameters overlap with only 3% of known galactic life. And they evolved this way naturally, another professor added. Earth shaped them into the perfect survivors. Professor Velkaris looked at the human students who were laughing and joking with each other as they left the laboratory. They had no idea how special they were. To them, everything they did was normal. We must continue the experiments, Professor Velkaris said. The galaxy needs to understand what Deathworlders truly are. 3 weeks into the semester, Taeyang noticed something had changed. Students no longer ran away when he approached. Instead, they watched him with curious eyes. Some even tried to talk to him, though they still kept a respectful distance. Rin had become braver. The crystalline student now sat closer during their project meetings, though he still flinched whenever Taeyang moved too quickly. Your species is fascinating, Rin said one afternoon as they reviewed their experiment notes. I have been reading about Earth. Your planet has something called earthquakes where the entire ground shakes? Yeah, we get those sometimes, Taeyang replied, and you just live through them? Most of the time, yeah. We build structures that can handle the shaking. Rin's facets flickered with amazement. On my world, the slightest vibration could shatter me. We have no geological activity at all. Our planet is completely stable. That sounds nice, Taeyang said. It is safe, Rin agreed. But it is also boring. Nothing ever changes. Nothing ever challenges us, he paused. I think that is why humans are so interesting. Your world challenges you every day and you just accept it as normal. Later that day, a group of students approached the four humans in the cafeteria. They were led by a being that looked like a floating jellyfish with too many tentacles. Excuse us, the jellyfish student said. We are from the Advanced Biology Department. We have a request. What kind of request? Ji-woo asked. We wish to study human healing capabilities, the student explained. The preliminary data from your baseline tests shows remarkable regeneration. We would like to conduct a more detailed experiment. What would that involve? Hana asked, leaning forward with interest. We would create small injuries and observe how your body repairs them. Another student said. This one resembled a small blue cloud. Nothing dangerous. Just scientific observation. The four humans looked at each other. I guess that's okay, Ji-woo said, as long as Professor Velkaris approves it. The professor did approve it, though with many safety conditions. The experiment was scheduled for the following week. Word spread quickly through the station. On the day of the experiment, the observation room was packed with students and professors from every department. Ji-woo volunteered to go first. She sat in a medical chair while scanners hummed around her. A medical drone approached with a small laser scalpel. We will make a cut approximately 2 centimeters long and 3 millimeters deep on your forearm, the jellyfish student explained. Is this acceptable? Sure, Ji-woo said. The drone made the cut. It was quick and precise. Blood welled up from the wound and Ji-woo winced slightly. Ow. Okay, that stings a bit. The observation room erupted in chaos. She's bleeding. Call emergency medical. Get the stasis field ready. Someone notify the station commander. The station's medical AI immediately flagged Ji-woo's file as critical injury. Alarms began blaring. Security drones rushed toward the laboratory. Wait, stop! Ji-woo shouted over the noise. I'm fine. It's just a small cut. Professor Velkaris held up several arms, trying to calm everyone down. Please, everyone remain calm. The human says she is not in danger. Not in danger? The blue cloud student said. She has a breach in her skin. She's losing blood. It's really not that bad, Ji-woo said. She pressed a clean cloth against the wound. See? The bleeding is already slowing down. The medical scanners confirmed it. The blood was clotting, sealing the wound from the inside. Within 2 minutes, the bleeding stopped completely. Could I get a bandage? Ji-woo asked. The medical staff stared at her. Finally, a drone brought a small adhesive bandage. Ji-woo placed it over the cut. There, all better, she said. All better? Rin's voice was barely a whisper. You suffered a major laceration and you just put a bandage on it? It's not a major laceration, Ji-woo protested. It's a paper cut. Well, bigger than a paper cut, but still small. The biology students examined the wound closely with their scanners. The human skin had already begun repairing itself at the cellular level. White blood cells swarmed the injury site. New tissue was forming. This is incredible, the jellyfish student said. Her body is healing itself. No medical intervention needed. They continued the experiments. Daehyun agreed to a bone density test. He lifted progressively heavier weights while scanners examined his skeletal structure. The weights got heavier and heavier, but Daehyun's bones showed no signs of stress fractures. How much does that weigh? Poroth asked, watching Daehyun lift a barbell. About 100 kilograms. Daehyun grunted, lifting it above his head. That's more than I weigh, Poroth said. Your bones should be cracking. Human bones are very dense, Professor Velkaris explained, studying the scans. They have to support body weight in 1.0 gravity, plus any additional loads. They are stronger than some manufactured materials we use in construction. Next, they tested Hana's immune system. They exposed her to a common station bacteria, one that was harmless to most species but could cause mild discomfort. We will monitor your response over the next few hours, the jellyfish student said. Hana sat in an observation room, reading a book on her datapad. The medical scanners tracked every change in her body. After 30 minutes, her temperature rose slightly. Her immune system was responding. Look at this, one of the biology students said, pointing at a screen. Her white blood cells are attacking the bacteria. They're destroying it. Of course they are, Hana said, not looking up from her book. That's what immune systems do. Not like this, the student replied. Most species need medication to fight off foreign bacteria. Your body is doing it naturally, efficiently, and quickly. By the end of 2 hours, Hana's immune system had completely eliminated the bacteria. She felt fine, maybe slightly tired. "Your world must have terrible diseases," a professor commented. "We have a lot," Hana admitted. "Bacteria, viruses, parasites, fungi. Our immune systems have to be ready for anything." "How does your species survive childhood?" the professor asked in wonder. "Most of us do," Hana said with a shrug. "Some kids get sick more than others, but their immune systems learn and get stronger." The final test of the day was supposed to be simple. Taeyang was helping the students move some equipment to storage. It was just heavy boxes and scanning machines. He lifted a large metal case, carrying it easily across the laboratory. "Careful with that," Rin called out. "It's quite heavy." "I got it," Taeyang said. He didn't see the loose panel on the floor. His foot caught on it and he stumbled. The case slipped from his hands. As he tried to catch it, a metal storage shelf tipped over. Everything happened very fast. The shelf, loaded with equipment, fell toward Taeyang. He put his arm up instinctively. The edge of the shelf hit his shoulder with a loud clang. Equipment crashed to the floor. The shelf itself was heavy enough that it left a dent in the metal floor. For a moment, nobody moved. Then everyone started screaming. "Get medical here now. He's been crushed. Someone pull the shelf off him." But Taeyang pushed the shelf away himself, standing up and brushing off his clothes. His shirt was torn at the shoulder and there was already a bruise forming, but he was standing, moving, alive. "I'm okay," he said. "Just clumsy." "You're okay?" Rin's voice reached a pitch that might have shattered glass. "That shelf weighs over 200 kilograms. It should have crushed your bones." Taeyang rotated his shoulder, wincing. "It's going to be a nasty bruise, and I think I'll be sore tomorrow. But nothing's broken." The medical scanners confirmed it. Bruised tissue. No broken bones. No internal bleeding. No serious damage. In a few days, he would be completely fine. Professor Velkaris was the first to speak after a long silence. "In the 50 years I have been teaching, I have seen students hospitalized for injuries far less severe. A falling stylus once put a student in medical care for a month, and you are telling me that you survived being struck by a 200-kilogram object, and you are merely bruised?" "Humans are built tough," Taeyang said. "Evolution, you know. Our ancestors had to survive falling out of trees, getting kicked by large animals, all sorts of accidents. Our bones are thick, our muscles provide padding, and our skin is pretty good at not tearing." "This is beyond tough," the jellyfish student said. "This is nearly indestructible." That evening, an emergency meeting was called. The station safety committee reviewed the footage of the accident. They watched in slow motion as the shelf fell as it struck Taeyang, as he pushed it away like it was a minor inconvenience. "We have been treating humans as fragile," the safety coordinator said. "We have reduced gravity, filtered air, softened every surface. But perhaps we have been wrong." "Very wrong," Professor Velkaris agreed. "Humans do not need protection from the station. If anything, the station needs protection from accidental human strength." A decision was made. Humans would be reclassified from extreme fragile care to Category 1 resilient. This was the same category as species from high-gravity worlds, species that had evolved in harsh volcanic environments, species that the galaxy considered to be among the toughest forms of life. When Taeyang heard about the reclassification, he didn't know whether to laugh or be confused. "We're not that special," he said to Rin. "Yes, you are," Rin replied, his crystalline body glowing softly. "Your people survived your planet's childhood. My people could never have done the..." The semester had flown by faster than Taeyang expected. Now standing backstage in the presentation hall, he felt genuinely nervous for the first time since arriving at the station, not because he was afraid of public speaking, but because he could hear the massive crowd gathering outside. "There must be 1,000 students out there," Jiwoo said, peeking through the curtain. "Maybe more. Some are joining by hologram from other stations. I heard someone came from 3 systems away just to see our presentation," Hana added, checking her notes one more time. "No pressure," Daehyun said with a nervous laugh. The presentation hall was enormous, designed to host galactic conferences. Today it was completely packed. Students from every department crowded the seats. Professors lined the walls. Even some station administrators had shown up. Everyone wanted to hear what the humans had discovered about themselves. Professor Velkaris found them backstage. "Are you ready?" Your group presents last, which means everyone is waiting specifically for you. Why are so many people here? Taeyang asked. Because you are news, the professor replied. Word has spread across the academic network. Humans, the Deathworlders, studying themselves. The galaxy is very curious about what you have learned. The presentations began. Other student groups went first, sharing their findings about different species adaptations. Each presentation was interesting, showing how various life forms had evolved to suit their environments. Then it was time. And now, Professor Velkaris announced from the stage, our final presentation group, studying the species that has surprised us all this semester. Please welcome Taeyang, Rin, and Poroth. The applause was deafening. Taeyang walked onto the stage with his group members. Rin's crystalline body caught the stage lights, creating rainbow patterns across the room. Poroth flowed along beside them, leaving a slight trail of moisture. Taeyang stood at the podium. 1,000 eyes, sensors, and optical organs focused on him. Thank you for coming, he began. Our presentation is called Deathworld Adaptations Understanding Human Survival. Before this semester, I never thought of humans as special. We were just normal to me. But working with my partners and conducting these experiments taught me something important. What's normal for us is extraordinary for almost everyone else. The screen behind him lit up with a chart. It showed temperature ranges for various species compared to humans. The human bar stretched far beyond most others. Humans can survive temperatures from about -40 to +50 degrees Celsius, Taeyang explained. Our comfortable range is about 35 degrees wide. Most species have a comfort range of 5 degrees or less. Murmurs rippled through the audience. We didn't evolve this tolerance on purpose, Taeyang continued. Earth's temperature changes constantly. Seasons, weather patterns, day and night cycles. Our bodies had to adapt to constant change, so we became flexible. Rin stepped forward, his voice chiming softly. I want to add something. My planet's temperature varies by only 2 degrees throughout the year. My people never needed to adapt to change. But because of this, I cannot survive outside a very narrow range. Humans are not just tough. They are adaptable. That is their true strength. The next slide showed gravity comparisons. Earth's gravity is 9.8 meters per second squared, Taeyang said. Every moment of our lives, we are training in 1.0 gravity. Walking, running, lifting objects. We don't think about it. But we are constantly exercising just by existing. This means, Poroth added, flowing up to a microphone, that the average human is physically stronger than most species-trained athletes. Not because humans are naturally stronger, but because they train from birth without realizing it. Jiwoo took over for the next section. She pulled up images of human cellular structure. Let's talk about healing, she said. When I cut my arm during our experiment, everyone panicked. But my body just did what human bodies do. It healed itself. Our blood clots automatically. Our cells regenerate quickly. Our immune system fights off threats without us having to think about it. A graph appeared showing healing rates across species. Humans were near the top. Most of you need medical intervention for any injury, Jiwoo continued. Your bodies can't repair damage efficiently on their own. Humans evolved to heal ourselves because on Earth, getting injured was common. Falls, cuts, bruises. Our ancestors couldn't run to a doctor every time they scraped their knee. So our bodies learned to be their own doctors. Hana stepped up next. Her presentation was about the human immune system. Earth is full of diseases, she said bluntly. Bacteria, viruses, fungi, parasites, things that want to infect us. So our immune system is like a military force, always ready for war. The screen showed microscopic images of human white blood cells attacking bacteria. When we exposed me to station bacteria, my body destroyed it in hours. No medicine needed. Our immune systems are trained from childhood. Every time we get sick and recover, we get stronger. It's like a computer updating its virus definitions, but biological. A professor in the front row raised a tentacle. Are you saying that Earth's hostile environment made your immune system stronger? Yes, Hana replied. Earth tried to kill us with diseases for millions of years. We evolved to kill them back. That's why humans rarely get sick from alien bacteria. Our immune systems are prepared for much worse. Daehyun presented the physics perspective. Let me tell you about something we call impact resistance, he said. A video played showing the accident with the shelf falling on Taeyang. The audience gasped as they watched the heavy shelf strike him. That shelf weighed over 200 kilograms, Daehyun explained. It left a dent in the metal floor. It should have shattered bones. But Taeyang just got a bruise. Why? Because human bones are incredibly dense and strong. Our muscles provide natural padding. Our skin is tough and flexible. We evolved these traits because Earth is dangerous. He pulled up another chart. Humans fall down a lot. We slip, we trip, we stumble. Children fall dozens of times a day while learning to walk. Adults have accidents. So we evolved to survive impacts that would be fatal to most species. The presentation continued with more data. They showed that humans could survive radiation levels that would kill most galactic species. That human senses, while not the sharpest, worked across a very wide range. That humans could go days without food or water if necessary. Each fact built on the last, painting a picture of a species designed by evolution to survive anything. Finally, Taeyang returned to the podium. "I want to make something clear," he said. "We're not sharing this to brag. We didn't choose to be this way. Earth made us tough because it had to. We're survivors because our planet gave us no other choice. But that same toughness comes with responsibility." He paused, looking out at the audience. "Now that we know we're more resilient than most species, we need to be careful. We need to remember that what's easy for us might be impossible for you. We need to be gentle because we're stronger than we realized." A voice called out from the audience. "Question." Taeyang nodded. "Yes?" A professor from the military science department stood up. She had 4 arms and armor plating for skin. "I am Commander Thax. I work with the Galactic Defense Force. I want to tell you all something that most civilians don't know." The room went quiet. "Humans in the Defense Force are classified as special operations personnel," Commander Thax said. "Not because of training, but because their baseline capabilities exceed our enhanced soldiers. A human recruit on their first day can do things that take other species years of training and genetic modification to achieve. We didn't understand why until now." She looked directly at the humans on stage. "You are natural special forces. Your planet made you into warriors just to survive childhood." The room erupted in whispers. Professor Velkaris took the stage. "If I may add something," the professor said. "I have taught for 50 years. I have studied thousands of species, but I have never seen anything like humans. Earth is rated as a Class 12 death world, one of the harshest classifications, but I believe we need to change our rating system." The professor pulled up a new chart. "I propose we create a new classification. Instead of rating worlds from Class 1 to Class 12, we should use Earth as the standard, as Category Earth, because humans aren't just surviving a death world. They're thriving from it. They evolved beyond survival into excellence." The room exploded with applause. Students were standing, cheering, making whatever sounds their species made to show approval. Taeyang felt overwhelmed. He had just wanted to understand himself better. He never expected this. Rin approached him on stage, his crystal body glowing brighter than usual. "You asked me once if we thought you were dangerous," Rin said. "We did, we were afraid. But now I understand. You're not dangerous. You're powerful. There's a difference. Power can choose to be gentle, and humans choose that every day." Parath flowed up beside them. "You protect the fragile ones. You always have. That's why humans are the best partners, strong enough to face any danger, kind enough to care about those who can't." The presentation ended with a standing ovation that lasted 10 minutes. As they left the stage, professors swarmed them with questions. Other students wanted to shake their hands, though most were still careful not to grip too hard. Jiwoo leaned over to Taeyang. 6 months had passed since the presentation. Taeyang walked through the corridors of the station, amazed at how much had changed. Students no longer avoided him. Instead, they approached him with questions, requests for help, or just to talk. The fear had been replaced with curiosity and respect. "Taeyang," a voice called out. He turned to see Rin hurrying toward him, moving faster than Taeyang had ever seen the crystalline being move. "I got accepted," Rin said, his body flashing with excited colors. "The Memory Archive Project accepted my application. They want me to document everything we learned about Deathworld species." "That's amazing," Taeyang said. "Congratulations." "I couldn't have done it without you," Rin replied. "You taught me that being fragile doesn't mean being weak. I may not be able to survive harsh conditions, but my crystalline structure allows me to store perfect memories. That's my strength." They walked together to the cafeteria where Jiwoo, Hana, and Daehyun were already eating lunch. Parath flowed over to join them, settling into a specially designed chair that accommodated its gelatinous form. Have you all seen the news? Hannah asked, holding up her datapad. Applications for the Human Exchange Program increased by 900%. Universities across the galaxy want human students now. 900%? Dae-hyun whistled. That's crazy. It's not just universities, Ji-woo added. I got 3 job offers this morning. Engineering firms want humans on their teams. They say our approach to problem solving is unique. Tae-yang thought about that. What's unique about how we solve problems? You design for failure, Porath explained. Most species design systems assuming everything will work perfectly. But humans assume things will break, so you build in backups and redundancies. You prepare for the worst-case scenario because on Earth, the worst-case scenario happens regularly. It was true. Human engineering always included safety margins, backup systems, and repair protocols. Because on Earth, things broke all the time. Equipment failed. Storms knocked down power lines. Earthquakes damaged buildings. Humanity learned to expect problems and plan for them. I got an interesting message yesterday, Hannah said. The Galactic Medical Institute wants me to help develop new treatments. They think human immune system research could save millions of lives. What kind of treatments? Tae-young asked. Vaccines mostly, Hannah replied. Most species don't have strong immune systems, so they never developed vaccine technology. But humans have been using vaccines for centuries. Our bodies are good at learning to fight diseases. If we can adapt that technology for other species, we could prevent pandemics across the galaxy. That would be incredible, Rin said softly. The conversation was interrupted by Professor Velkaris approaching their table. The professor had become more than just a teacher. Over the semester, they had become a friend. Good afternoon, everyone, Professor Velkaris said. I have news. The Galactic Council has approved the Terran Resilience Initiative. What's that? Dae-hyun asked. A new program to search for intelligent life on worlds previously classified as uninhabitable, the professor explained. Your presentation made the Council realize we might have missed other species, simply because we assumed no one could survive on harsh worlds. You're going to look for more Deathworlders? Ji-woo asked. Yes, and we've already found 3 potential candidates. Planets with violent weather, unstable geology, or extreme conditions. Places we thought were dead zones. But now we know better. If humans can thrive on Earth, perhaps other species are thriving on their own harsh worlds, waiting to be discovered. Tae-young felt a strange pride. The human presence in the galaxy was leading to the discovery of new civilizations. Species that might have remained isolated forever, because everyone else thought their worlds were too dangerous to investigate. Later that week, Tae-yang was offered a position as a teaching assistant for the newly created Deathworld Studies program. He accepted immediately. Ji-woo joined an engineering firm that specialized in extreme environment equipment. Hannah began working with the Medical Institute. Dae-hyun took a position with a ship design company, where his understanding of human spatial reasoning and physics intuition was valuable. They were all moving forward, starting their careers. But they promised to stay in touch, to remember the semester that changed everything. The new semester began with a ceremony. The station officially opened the Deathworld Studies Department, the first of its kind in the galaxy. Tae-young stood in the new classroom waiting for the first students to arrive. They came slowly, nervously. A jellyfish being, a small fuzzy creature, a being made of what looked like living sand, all of them looking uncertain. Welcome, Tae-young said with a warm smile. I'm Tae-yang, one of your teaching assistants. This is Professor Velkaris. The professor clicked a greeting. Please, everyone, take your seats. Today marks the beginning of something new. We will study worlds that challenge life. We will learn from species that refuse to give up. And we will discover that survival is not about being the strongest or the fastest. It's about adapting, learning, and helping each other. A small student in the back raised a tentacle. Is it true that you're a Deathworlder? I'm from Earth, yes, Tae-young replied. And is it true that you drink universal solvent? Tae-young couldn't help but smile. He pulled out a water bottle and took a drink. Half the class gasped. One student fainted but was caught by its neighbor. It's just water, Tae-young said gently. And yes, humans drink it every day. But here's the important thing. I'm not special because I can drink water. I'm normal for my species. Each of you is adapted to your own environment in ways I could never survive. The point of this class isn't to show that humans are tough. It's to show that every species is remarkable in their own way. Professor Velkaris continued the lesson. Earth has taught us an important truth. We classified it as a Class 12 death world, assuming nothing intelligent could evolve there. We were wrong. Humans didn't just evolve on Earth, they mastered it. They turned a planet that tried to kill them into a home. But how? A student asked. How do you survive on a world like that? Taeyang thought about the question. I think it's because we never gave up. When the weather was too hot, we learned to cool ourselves. When it was too cold, we made fire and clothing. When predators hunted us, we learned to hunt them back. When diseases made us sick, we studied them and created medicine. Earth kept throwing problems at us and we kept solving them. And you did this together, Rin said, entering the classroom. He had asked to attend the first class to support his friend. Humans are social. You help each other. One human alone might die, but humans together can overcome anything. The class continued with students asking questions, sharing their own stories about their homeworlds, and beginning to understand the bigger picture. Life was diverse. Survival came in many forms, and every species had something to teach the others. At the end of class, the small student who had asked about water approached Taeyang. I'm scared of many things, the student admitted. I'm weak. I break easily. I will never be strong like you. Taeyang knelt down to be at eye level with the small being. You don't need to be strong like me. You need to be strong in your own way. Rin isn't physically tough, but he has a perfect memory. Poroth isn't fast, but they can analyze chemical compositions just by tasting them. Everyone has different strengths. What's my strength? The student asked. I don't know yet, Taeyang admitted, but we'll discover it together. That's what this class is about. Understanding that surviving isn't about being tough. It's about finding what makes you special and using it. The student left looking more confident. As the weeks passed, news continued to spread across the galaxy. The first new death world species was discovered, a species of beings who lived on a planet with extreme radiation. They had evolved to not just survive radiation, but to use it as an energy source. Without the Terran Resilience Initiative, they would never have been found. 2 more discoveries followed. Each one proved that the galaxy had been looking for life in the wrong places. By assuming all life needed gentle conditions, they had missed entire civilizations. Humanity's role in the galaxy began to solidify. They weren't just survivors. They were protectors. Human soldiers in the Defense Force had a reputation for never leaving anyone behind. Human engineers designed equipment that worked when everything else failed. Human doctors could treat injuries and diseases that other species thought were hopeless. But more importantly, humans cared. They had survived so much that they understood suffering, they understood fear, and they had decided that no one else should face those things alone. One evening, Taeyang sat with his friends on an observation deck, watching the stars. Do you ever think about how strange this all is? Hana asked. 6 months ago, we were just students trying to figure out college. Now we're changing the galaxy. We didn't change anything, Daehyun said. We just showed them what we already were. Maybe that's enough, Jiwoo added. Maybe the galaxy needed to see that survival doesn't mean just staying alive. It means living fully, caring deeply, and never giving up. Taeyang looked at Rin, who had joined them. What do you think, Rin? The crystalline being's facets caught the starlight, creating patterns that